Welcome to The Know, I'm Ashley Jenkins.
And I'm Blaine Gibson.
Box office numbers for the weekend are in, folks, and everyone's favorite new explosion movie, Fury Road, lost the #1 spot to Pitch Perfect at the domestic box office. So get ready for another 49 more 50 Shades of Grey movies, apparently, because I guess explosions can't compete with boobs or singing or whatever.
So did Mad Max Fury Road fail? From the first trailer that dropped last Comic-Con, you'd have thought Mad Max Fury Road would be the one franchise that can make a comeback 30 years after the last movie in the franchise. It has everything.
Bane? Check.
Charlize Theron? Check.
A lot of dumb talk that nobody cares about? Nope, too busy blowing stuff up.
Car racing? Yeah. With people tied to the front? Take that, Furious 7.
What does Pitch Perfect have? Huh? A bunch of girls singing and being total dorks and taking on the scary Germans in an epic singing showdown. We've seen Cool Running Guys and Indiana Jones. We get it. Germans, kinda sexy intimidating. Aside from vulgar chicks and sleepovers and pillow fights and singing mashups and that really happy feeling it gives you inside, and the Pentatonics cameo and all the German mesh you can handle, what does it have going for it, really? Nothing. I didn't even cry.
Didn't even cry. So how did Fury Road lose? Depends on how you look at it, really. If that #1 box office spot is how you determine success or failure, then yeah, it did bust, technically.
But if that's the case, there are a lot of movies that failed. Interstellar, Sherlock Holmes, Casino Royale, Django Unchained, Live Free or Die Hard, Bourne Identity, Bridesmaids, take that chick flicks. None of those ever opened at #1, but you wanna call them failures? Go ahead. They'll probably use their combined skills to track you down, get drunk and shout at you a lot, shoot you, blow you up, and then send you through space-time.
But that's not going to get you the full picture. Chew on this, Fury Road may have only made $44.4 million in theaters in North America, but it's writers-directors George Miller's biggest opening ever, so suck on that happy feet too.
In its first weekend, it surpassed the lifetime box office take of the last entry in the franchise, Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome, and that one had her badassness Tina Turner in it. Thunderdome made $36 million during its total lifetime and only $7.2 million in its opening weekend.
Where it was also #2, so it can't catch a break. At least it was #2 to Back to the Future though, so that's kind of respectable.
Hard to beat. And for some reason, everyone is always holding domestic box office to be the yardstick we measure success by, but there is the rest of the world to consider. The international premiere accounted for an additional $65 million, bringing the movie's opening weekend up to $109.4 million.
Also sweeps past Pitch Perfect 2, which brought in a measly $108.4 million internationally. So take that, pitches. Mad Max back on top.
It is kind of weird though, because while domestic box office used to be where movies earned most of their money, that's really not the case anymore. Look at Mad Max. It made 50% more overseas than it did domestically.
But an even bigger example is something like The Avengers: Age of Ultron, which earned $372 million domestically, and that's awesome until you realize that it earned $770.5 million internationally. That's 2/3 of its $1.1 billion total.
Sorry folks, America's not on top anymore. Well, as a single country, we are, but not against the whole world. We can't take all that. But luckily for freedom, the bigger question in determining whether the movie is judged a success or not, at least as far as the studios are concerned, is probably going to be profit. Will it make more money than it cost to make?
The answer to that is hasn't yet, but it could. The production budget for the film was supposedly $150 million, at least according to the number of hounds at Box Office Mojo. So it hasn't hit that yet, but it will. Even if it only makes half of what it did this weekend for the rest of its life, it will make the production budget back.
But don't get out your party pants just yet. Where that might get hung up a little bit is with the marketing. Studios don't like to share too many numbers because it makes their movies seem either less profitable, which is bad for business, or unless they want to make them look less profitable so they can avoid paying royalties.
Yeah, like take David Prowse, for example, the guy that
remembers him.
Yo, he played Darth Vader.
Nobody remembers him.
Well, okay, well he said he's never seen any sort of royalties from Return of the Jedi because it hasn't turned a profit.
Sure, Lucasfilm, we buy it. Either way, because the studios and their creative math, we don't know for sure whether marketing is included in that production budget. If it is, then Fury Road is scot-free and hopefully we'll see plenty of Mad Max babies running around the theaters in the future.
Yeah.
If not, we have more math to do. Rule of thumb in Hollywood these days is whatever the movie costs to make, take 50% of that, and that's what you need to spend on marketing. So if the movie alone cost $150 million to make, they probably spent another $75 million on marketing, and it'll have to earn that back too to really break even.
How likely is that? Well, let's go look at some of last year's biggest action movies. These are just domestic numbers just to make the math a little bit easier, but we can spot a trend if we look at like Transformers: Age of Extinction, which made $138 million its first weekend, and an additional $107 million over the rest of its life.
And Dawn of the Planet Planet of the Apes, which made $102 million its first weekend, and another $106 million lifetime after that.
There's also X-Men Days of Future Past, which made $129 million its first weekend, and another $104 in the rest of its run.
Or Edge of Tomorrow, which only made $40 million in its first week, but another $60 million over its lifetime, probably when people got over the stupid name and figured out it was a good movie.
It's a great movie. And we're not even going to count the Marvel movies because those aren't even subject to the rules of reality.
Nope. But looking at these movies, which were among the biggest of last year, it looks like opening weekend is pretty crucial to lifetime earnings.
So if marketing and distribution aren't included in Fury Road's production budget, it's going to have to be a pretty tough time getting from $109 million to $225 million to break even. It can do it, it's just kind of a stretch.
But who knows? Unlike all those other movies, it got a 98% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and also there's not a lot coming out the next few weeks to compete with it, which helps.
Yeah. So if you still mean to see it and you want to do it good and not lose it to the girls, you better get to a theater.
Otherwise, we'll end up with all the singing and dancing all the time. Either way, I win.
No, I lose. So have you seen Fury Road yet, or is it still on your list of things to see, when it inevitably comes out on Netflix? Let us know in the comments below.
For all the movie math you can shake a stick at, subscribe to the Know. We'll hit you with all the addition, subtraction, calculus we learned in elementary school.
He's just a raggedy man. Tina Turner in Beyond Thunderdome.